I think all the macro factors point to a very compelling choice of Hong Kong and being a regional asset management center, particularly in relation to China and Greater China. I'd like to share with you just a few thoughts from purely a business angle. I think the macro angles have been very well articulated by my learned friends in the panel. First, I think we have to recognize that the development of the capital markets in China is still on the ground floor. I remember in the journey of the H-shares started in April 1991 when I went to Beijing with Robert Owen, who was the former chairman of the SFC in Hong Kong, to suggest to our Chinese friends to use Hong Kong as a market to experiment international capital raising for Chinese companies. And little did we know that H-shares will grow to be such a wonderful and successful program for Hong Kong, but also for China and for the international community. And I have a sense, listening to Anita, that a similar timing in relation to R&D products is happening today. We are on the ground floor of a major development in relation to R&D products, and Hong Kong is in the forefront of that innovation. The second point is that irrespective of the offshore R&D products, which I think is most exciting, the fact of the matter is that the Chinese were allowed, albeit on a gradual basis, for domestic, corporate, and high net worth investors, in addition to institutional investors, to invest more internationally. That could be done through a QBII quota, or it could be done on open overall quota directly. But the most likely will be done initially through a pilot scheme by, for example, dedicated approved funds through a particular quota, and maybe through Hong Kong. So all that development, I think, again, we are in the forefront of that innovation. And where else in the world can one look at new assets hitherto unavailable in the international market that will be flowing gradually, but in the fullest of time, I think substantially onto the international market, and Hong Kong will be the first one to benefit and hopefully contribute to that development. My second point is, if you look ahead in the next 10 years, probably up to 20% of all the major multinationals, bottom line, will have a China factor, or put it the other way, the China factor could become 50 to 20% of a major multinational. Certainly Asia today is already 20%, but I would even challenge to say just China, or Greater China alone, could be 15 to 20%. Plus the excitement of the possibility of a Shanghai International Board. I know I'm in the Hong Kong Government Conference, but I think we have to understand the rise of Shanghai means also growing business for Hong Kong, and we should not really envision the rise of Shanghai will be detrimental to Hong Kong. I don't buy it at all. In fact, I believe the fictional rivalry of the rise of Shanghai is good for Hong Kong and good for Shanghai. It will make us more competitive, more innovative, and more closer to the market. But if we're talking about a 20% China factor in the bottom line of the international companies, the top 500 Fortune 500 companies have their listing in Shanghai, whether it's by way of a Shanghai International Board or by way of splitting off their China subsidiary onto the Asian market or by a GDR. What that means is the management of these international companies will gravitate much more closely to the China market in terms of fundraising, in terms of in terms of investor relations, and also in terms of M&A. Now that means the fund management community internationally would have to spend more time on that market in that time zone in understanding and scrutinizing and monitoring these companies' performance. So again, in that market, Hong Kong, in addition to Shanghai, will be an essential part of one's coverage. My third point is on products. In terms of products, today we have the QFII, the offshore bonds that my learned friend from the previous panel mentioned, and also Anita mentioned. But even in terms of private equity, my firm, having the local license being conferred to us by Shanghai and Beijing, we will be looking to raise a private equity fund in Hong Kong, but denominated in RMB. Now that, again, is part of that innovation process. I'm sure in the other alternative investment product space, we will definitely get it down the road. So I think in terms of product innovation, the China and Hong Kong together would be the first to move. In the past, you hear that Shanghai will also want to run faster than Hong Kong, and Shanghai is a bigger market, which is potentially, it all may be true. But I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Shanghai has accepted that by partnering with Hong Kong, by cooperating with Hong Kong, it's easier to get Beijing's blessing. And therefore, I think in the short, medium term, you'll see a lot more partnership cooperation between Shanghai and Hong Kong, which, as I mentioned earlier, is good for everybody. Now, is it the fact that you only need to be in Hong Kong if you take China seriously? The answer must be no. To take China seriously, we have to be in Hong Kong, we have to be in Shanghai, we have to be in Beijing, because we serve different functions. But in terms of the clarity in regulatory matters, law, tax, transparency, sophistication of relevant regulation, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of schools, in terms of languages, in terms of the rule of law, I think Hong Kong is a natural place to base your regional hub for China investment. I rest my case. Thank you very much.